on the show. Tell
Mhm.
me, Alan, you served in the military, right?
I hope so. Otherwise, that 4 years was a fucking blur of randomness. But no, yeah, I did. I joined out of high school.
You joined
Into the army.
went to the army, started out of high
Yeah.
school. How was that process like, man? What made you want to join the military army?
Um. So, Mama always said, "Go to school or go to
Hmm.
the military."
Okay.
Key fact on that, I found out later I could have just got a job, but she withheld that one. Fucking asshole. Uh, so I was getting geared up to go to college. And I'm the type that I'm really good at school, but it bores the shit out of me.
Hmm.
So I was like, I'm not going to college, dude. And then
Hmm.
I was also that one that was like, I'm never joining the military. That's stupid. But I like a lot of war movies. It makes no
Hmm.
sense on why I had that opinion. Um, but one day I was sitting there in class and the recruiters came and started talking, and I was like, fuck it. Let's go ask. So I went, got asked, did the whole process, did the whole ASVAB, got my test scores,
Hmm.
and picked my job. And I think I asked, I was like, I graduate in June. When's the soonest I can leave? They were like July. I was like, done.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
that's. I mean, it wasn't as smooth. I had to convince my mother. She
Okay.
because I wasn't 18, so she had to legally sign off on it.
Hmm.
So that was a process. And then another funny story is with my ASVAB score, I could have done practically anything. And I
Yeah.
pissed off the recruiter by picking infantry. And she goes, "You want to do what?" And I was like, "I'm going to go shoot shit and blow shit up. That's what I'm going to do." And
So
she was like, "Oh,
you
fuck."
got a little rebel spirit, huh?
I do actually. And everyone that knows me will attest to that. They're like, everyone was like, "You're doing what?" I was like, "I'm joining the army." They're like, "Mr. fucking hates authority and the rebel of rebels. Like, you're going to," I was like, fuck it. Why not?
Right? That's what's up. That's what's up. I like that, man. Like I said, I'm in a wheelchair, but like, is I would have joined the military. I know outside of high school I would have joined the military just because I'm
Right.
a person. I enjoy the structure. Like, tell me what I need to do, and I get it done. Like, I know what I got to do, and that's that's kind of what I wanted. But obviously, being in a wheelchair that kind of prevents you from doing anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, all the
So
all the fun gets sucked out. Hey, but you got wheelchair basketball, so that's a plus. You guys
yeah,
got
yeah, for
that one.
sure. Yeah, for sure. And I've been getting into a lot of that. I like to watch it, and and it's kind of a big thing. So I'm always kind of looking at things to highlight disabilities and
Mhm.
share that community with people and highlight that community for people to
Right.
understand it. Um, so what in your time in the military? I know you went in, right out of high school. Um, what are some leadership qualities that it taught you for the outside world or even your business now?
Um. Well, I think structure was one of them.
Hmm.
Obviously, like you said, it really helps you kind of understand like how to build that, leadership. And you learn like kind of
Hmm.
passively a lot of key things that I don't
Hmm.
think people really understand until you've
Hmm.
been in, like you learn like leadership, how to, think critically. I'm probably not the best example, but you do learn how to plan shit. Stuff like that.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, the meeting of deadlines and things like that. Like, so you learn a lot of these little things, and I'm sure there's a more deeper dive into it. But like I said, I wasn't
Hmm.
the best person at it. There's someone else. If I had my brother-in-law on here, he'd fucking probably tell you he lives that life. He's all
Yeah.
structured, planned out, and I'm over here like I'm just gonna wing it. And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, um,
I feel that.
yeah.
I,
But
I
I
I'm a
mean,
person. I'm a more of a winged type of guy too. Like I hate planning because for me, planning it never actually goes as planned for me. So I'm like, I just want things to
so
go
the
smoothly.
Well, the beauty about that is like the military, they teach you about contingencies, right? Like if this shit
Mhm.
happens, what do we do? Like, so you kind of learn that. And with business, it's the same thing, right? We can make a plan.
Mhm.
All right, this shit don't happen. How do we pivot? Like, how do we fix it? Where do we go? Or some people are like, oh, it didn't work. Oh my God. And you're just like, so go left. You know what I mean? Or like,
Yeah.
make this adjustment. So I that's probably the biggest thing it teaches you is the plan within the plan. The backup plan kind of thing, and to be ready for that. I think one of our best phrases was "prepare for the worst, hope for the best." So like
Yes. Yes, sir.
as you're making that plan, it's like, all right, well, if this goes to shit, this is what we're looking at, but hopefully this is how it's going to go, right? So that's probably the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway I got out of that in terms of the leadership and the business
For
aspect.
sure. For sure. For sure. So you spent 4 years in the army, right? You said
Like three and a half, somewhere
three and
around
a half.
there. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
how was I talked to my youngest brother. He's 22 right now. He just joined the Navy, and I asked him, was it weird being in the Navy? What's the weird things? He's like wearing civilian clothes. He's like, I feel
Yeah.
weird, and he's really just out of boot camp. Like he's fresh, and just for him to
Yeah.
say that, it was like I didn't ever get that perspective. He's like, I'm so used to being in my clothes that when I put civilian
Yep.
clothes on, it's weird to me now. So you know, spending 3.5 years in the army, like how's that transition getting out the army?
Uh, well, I mean, and I think a lot of vets we have this. It's such a mind shock
Hmm.
because we lose, that structure, that be here at this time, do this today.
Hmm.
Like we lose that. And don't get me wrong, some people do get out and have a better plan probably than I did, or and or maybe they adjust a little bit better. But for me, yeah, it was like, okay, you have this, I'm free, it's like getting out on bail basically. You finally hit parole, so you're like, hell yeah. And then like a few days later, you're like, well, what do I do now? Or
Hmm.
like, oh shit. So it was definitely a not an easy transition. Some of that probably is my own, like I said, lack of a plan, lack of executing things like that. Um, but in the beginning, it was whatever. It was like, all right, cool. I'm out. I can do as I please. You know what? I
Hmm.
am gonna try school. That lasted all of about a year and a half. And I was like, this is why I didn't go to college. Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough.
Hmm.
Um, and then and I think it's something that's common with with veterans is we lose pretty much our identity and our purpose,
Hmm.
and so it's really just that search of finding it. And it's I've been out now going on 13 years almost.
Okay.
So it took me probably almost 10 years to figure that purpose out and that
Wow.
kind of identity. And again, a lot of that is probably my own issues, like things I didn't want to do.
Hmm.
I probably could have been here sooner, but life is life. You go, it kind of just,
Yeah.
it works itself out, as they say.
Hmm.
But no, yeah, like I said, it took me a while to really go through that and deal with the ups and downs of it.
Yeah, I understand that. So if you could go back in time and getting out, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
To be fair, I don't know I would have gotten out as early as I did.
Hmm.
I chalk a lot of that up to being young and stupid.
Hmm.
I maybe would have redone that a little bit differently if I could. Not that, I mean, if you had asked me like 5 years ago, I would have fucking gave you a whole diatribe. I regret it. I should blah blah blah. Like
Hmm.
like I said, life got me to where I am now. But if I had to rethink it, I don't know if I'd change everything because I
Hmm.
think everything I've gone through in the 10 plus years have helped me get to where I am. Obviously I could have gotten here sooner had I maybe had a better plan. With that being said, I probably would have actually had a plan I was really going to do, or I would have maybe done a better job at figuring out what I was going to do. Like I kind of had like a maybe not a or like a half baked plan, but maybe had a more realistic one. Maybe it would have been like, okay, I know I hate school. I'm not going to waste time there. I can go,
Hmm.
be a realtor or something, or learn stuff that would
Hmm.
eventually get me to where I wanted to go a little bit quicker. But like I said, I really wouldn't change much because when I look at that journey and the people I've met to help me get to where I am, it in my mind it kind of worked out the way it needed to. So can't really say for sure I'd change a lot.
Okay. Were there any like mentors that you had in the military that try to give you advice and you like, I'm gonna do it on my own, or just like,
No, so the thing with like the military is at least for me,
hmm
you're gonna have leaders that it's like, okay, I'm gonna listen to you because the army says I have to, but then you're gonna have
Hmm.
some that you're just like, show me the way, and I'm like, well, I'll take the hill, like just because you said to take the hill, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna meet
Hmm.
those ones. And I was very fortunate that I had more of the other than ones that are just like, yeah, whatever, dude. So they definitely did try, and I for them I will say I was more of like, not I'm gonna do it my way. They were more of like a, we know you're gonna do it your way, but also we need you to kind of do it this way. And I'd be like, all right, cool, I got it. You know what I mean? So I did. I had a very, I had, when you're young and new, a lot of time they don't give you a lot of responsibility. My first squad leader made me fucking pretty much do everything. Like I had to do the radios. I had to I had to do this. I had to do that. And I'm like, dude, I'm 18. Like I don't know. Like what am I
Yeah.
doing? I'm like, you having me do this shit, and there's guys that have been here like 2 years or whatever.
Hmm.
But all right, I'll do it.
For
So it
sure.
was, you know, and like I said, it helped me because it made me be better and stuff. So I'm appreciative of that. But
For
yeah,
sure. I understand that. So, what made you start? I don't know if you had a team with you, doing it with you, but Faction Media. What was
mm,
the idea behind that? And did you have a group of people that started with you, or you just?
yeah. So it is me and two business partners. So kind of the
Mhm.
backstory of that is along my transitioning journey. I spent years in the cemetery and funeral business
Okay.
industry, whatever. So I was at the point where I was selling them, the funeral packages and everything. So I hired um, these two guys to help me market it, and they
Hmm.
could tell I just hated it. Like I was, they were like, "Hey, we need to do this, that," and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, I'll get to it.
Hmm.
Whatever." So finally, one day, I just was like, "Hey, because as we're meeting and we're talking, like they're giving me their issues, like, oh, blah blah blah. So why don't the three of us just do this as like as a team? Like you don't want to talk to people, you don't want to do this, blah blah blah. Which funny thing is, as much as I claim how much I hate people, I pretty much enjoyed talking to them. So it makes no sense. So that was kind of the formation of it, and the
Hmm.
main idea behind it was, our main goal is to help other veteran business owners as best we can with their businesses, help them market, become profitable and things like that. I would say that's the main goal behind it, but it's obviously to be a very well known and successful marketing company as a whole. If we can help veteran business owners, which is the goal, as much as we can, then that's the biggest win.
That's cool. To having that niche of veterans. I enjoy that. Like, so do you take on civilian accounts or clients,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
is
no,
okay?
we obviously do, like, we because what we found, trying to reach a lot of veteran business owners is that some of them maybe aren't in a position where they have the funds to pay for us, even though we
Hmm.
do give them like discounts for new veterans. But what we'll do is we'll give them essentially free advice or free thing, like, hey, here's like a guide of things you can do on your own that's cheap or free, that you don't have to hire people like us to do. And then, we'll check in and, ask them if they need any help after that. But in that kind of circle, we found a lot of the veterans are in, these other industries, roofing, solar, construction, things like that. So a majority of our clients come from that realm. So we do help both. Obviously, our goal is to try to help as, veteran business owners as best we can.
Okay, and how long have y'all had this the company? How old is the
The
company?
company itself will be going on 1 year.
Okay.
This is a rather, newer venture.
Hmm.
But collectively as a team, in the marketing and sale realm, I guess you could call it, we have I think roughly 30 years of experience in this industry. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's cool. So you
Mm.
you said that you hate people, but it sounds like you're a good salesman. How did you? How was that? Is that natural, or you just studied up and read books and kind of principles about it?
Um, I mean, it's kind of, I would say both. Like I said, I always tell people I hate people, but I enjoy talking to him, and I try to help him as best I can. Which who knew, right? Go figure.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess that's kind of the natural part to it. Is I just I don't mind talking to him and just finding that relatability. And from what I've understood, I'm a likable person, which who knew. Um, so I have that going for me. And then at that point, it was just I did have to learn, how to structure conversations, when to actually pitch it or how to actually find out, if you're like. So there's been trial and error, like with anything.
Hmm.
Um, because even in I always make the joke when we talk about business and stuff in one of my groups. They're like, well, this it doesn't come easy. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Learning to clear a house was pretty fucking easy, but I did eventually have to keep doing it and fine tune it and be able to teach other people things like that. So the thing with sales and the marketing was a lot of it was easy to understand, but it's just making sure I understand it so I can explain it, right? Because if you can't explain
Yeah,
it, then you're just selling snake oil kind of, or the client's just like, I'm not buying that. I don't know what the hell you're telling me. So it's
yeah.
like, all
I definitely agree with that. I'm
right.
still the company that I'm with right now. I'm new to it, and they gave me an opportunity. He was like, "Hey, man, one of the guys, one of the owners, uh, he was like, yeah, we need somebody to come do some SEO stuff. You know how to do it." I was like, "I'm gonna lie to you. I do a little bit of SEO with my. I understand just a little bit because of my podcast, but I don't really
Mm-hmm.
know. But I can always learn. So they gave me an
Right.
opportunity to learn, and I've been learning ever since and things like that. So it's like, and I want to like venture into like sales because I am a good talker with people. I can sit there and hold a conversation with somebody, but I don't. I like. I feel weird because I don't quite know everything that I'm talking about. It's just like so. If people have follow up questions, I'm like, oh, I don't know. So it's like I really want to like learn the industry um,
Right.
and what we do.
No, I mean, even in all honesty, there's still moments where I don't remember, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the exact answer, and I'll tell the client. I'll be like, I'll be completely honest. There's a team that I work with. They
Mm-hmm.
answer these questions, like so the techie stuff you want to
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually on the follow up call that answers that. I'm like, this is just to make sure that we're gonna like you want us and what we can do for you, and if
Mm-hmm.
then usually the follow up is if you have questions about the SEO or the how this part works. Cool, the nerds answer that one. I'm just over here, right? Like,
You just do the vetting.
that's usually how we do. I mean, not that I can explain it or at least
Mm-hmm.
talk about it, but like you said, there's sometimes where I'm like, no.
I feel that. Um, so I want to get. So first of all, I'm going out of order, but well, why the name Faction Media?
Sounded nice. So kind of like to go with that veteran military theme is, we kind of had this idea of like, we're we're that, I guess to make it relatable, that Navy SEAL team that comes in to save you at the last
Mm-hmm.
minute because you're fucked, whatever type of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the way we did it. So obviously, we that's just kind of how we brand it and how we think about it. We're here to drop in and rescue you from bad marketing or no marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Media is, we do a lot of media work with videos, content, as well as all the other digital things that companies use these days. And then I guess because it was like, we're the faction, like the marketing faction. I mean, there's a way to probably explain it better, but it just kind of just how it compensates. Like that's kind of the idea behind it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I'm glad that you answered it like that because, I want people when they listen to these, podcasts I'm putting out, sometimes like there was no good idea of why I named this or why we do it like this, but we did it because, sometimes people are perfectionists or they're scared to
Hmm.
like take off and it's just like, we don't know everything, but the main
No,
thing is that we're doing it. And,
no, yeah,
my goal is to have people, step into business, leadership, or whatever they want to do. Um, and not have all the answers, but just keep going, just do it. Like my podcast, I'm gonna tell you, I figured out my podcast. My idea came from, I'm in a wheelchair and I don't know if you know Larry David, what's that? Kirby Enthusiasm.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
watching it and there was a scene and a guy was using the handicap stall and the guy in the wheelchair was trying to get in. He was like, "Well, then you wait." He kept saying, "Well, everybody was in the stall, and I just want to use that." Well, then you wait till the stall opens, and you can go in there. But he kept saying, "Well, then you wait," and I was like,
Mhm.
there's something to that." So I shortened it, and my buddy at the time, he was co-hosting with me. I was like, "What if we name it Then Wait?" And I played that scene for him. He's like, "Oh, I like that." So when I tell people that, it was like, "That's cool, a cool
Mhm.
story of the pod of the title," and it works out so well for us. So it's like
Right.
certain things you could do, like you don't need to have everything in order right away, but just do it, and
Yeah. But
you can get inspiration from anything. Uh, Larry David.
I mean, the thing about that is it's funny because, sometimes when I'm doing the marketing or I'm meeting with a possible client and I'm like,
Mm,
okay, because messaging and you'll find with SEO that their names matter. All these things kind of
mm,
matter when you're building that. And I'll be like, oh, okay, so how'd you guys come up with, XYZ company? And they're just like,
mm.
we needed a name. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, all right, well, how'd you come up with the logo? I just put together some letters or whatever. Okay. Like, but inside, I'm like, well, we were no fucking better, so that's fine. Cool. I mean, I sound probably like a horrible business owner, but there's, like I said, there's some meaning to it. Like the way the logo is, you can see like there's gears and stuff. I'm not sure if you really see it
Mm.
on the camera, but it's like
Yeah, I
where
can
the
see it. Yeah.
mechanism, like where the mechanism behind you and building you and all that. So, like I said, there's meaning to it. Um, but when it came down to actually naming it, we were kind of like, so that I made it sound quick. That probably took like 2 or 3 days, but
Yeah.
it was also, to be fair, when you're doing like business like documents and stuff. In
Mm,
some of them, you can technically just put like blah 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 LLC and file it, and then like make your name later. But I didn't want to do that. I did want to be more
yeah.
proper. That's probably why it took 3 days. Just to
Yeah.
be fair.
I feel that is important to have like your designs and stuff like be you though. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have a so I didn't have a logo right away. Like we put something fresh. It was just a me and him and a little logo, and it was nice and clean and clear. But it wasn't the logo
Mm-hmm.
that we was going to use for the whole time. But I had a buddy that was an artist, and he made something for me. He's like, "I want to make something for you." He was asking questions. I was like, "Look, man, pretty much, I like the. I was making fun of you earlier about the rap being a rebel. I was like, I kind of like being a rebel. Like being in a wheelchair, like is easy, or like when you anybody, but like when you let people tell you what you can and can't do, you live in like be a rebel. Like tell them you say I can't do this, but I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Right. Yeah.
So my buddy made a Grim Reaper in a wheelchair,
Nice. Okay.
and that was just like when I seen it, I was like, that is so dope, man. I love that.
That's
That
cool.
speaks. And now I'm trying to change it a little bit to make it kind of more like friendlier, but I was like, nah. I went back to that logo because it's me. It represents
Yeah.
me and who I am. And if you don't like it, then so what? So, but
No, and to that point, because I tell people that too, and I think that's where, because I have like friends that are like really successful salespeople and this and
mm,
that, and a lot of them are like, dude, when Alan does this or that, like it works because he's authentic, like he's
mm,
him.
mm,
So same with our company, like I'll sit there on a calls with a client, and I've straight told them, I'm like, well, that's fucking dumb, and they're like, I'm like, you want to know why it's not working? Because it's fucking dumb. Like,
yeah,
or whatever. Like this. And I think for, some people, they're like, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to be. I'm like, no, I don't wear suits and ties. I don't do all this. Like, I'm going to tell you, you're an idiot.
yeah,
Like, that's what you're hiring. I'm going to be
yeah.
honest with you.
And
And I think that's something that kind of hopefully help does help us is that we're honest. Like, we'll tell you, we don't sit there like, oh, well, hopefully. I'm like, no, you came to me. I'm going to give you the truth, and this is how we could fix it. Yes or no, type of thing. So,
it's cool because at the end of the day, like when you I feel like if you had a client for 10, 12 years, that's how you be talking to them anyway. So they might as well get
Right.
used to you talk to them like that from the beginning.
My thing is, because I always make this joke. I'm like, look, dude, if you go back 30 whatever years ago,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't know how your lawyer acted on the weekends or
Mm-hmm.
whoever, right? Your banker,
Mm-hmm.
and then you come to find out this dude's on the strip club on the weekends doing coke off the strippers, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that can't be my banker. I'm not saying that's who. I'm telling you, I'm doing that right away, but you're at least going to get the idea. This guy might do that on the weekends, but that's okay. Like, you know what I mean? At least it wouldn't be a shock. You'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
that kind of explains it. That okay, that makes sense.
No, I feel you. That makes perfect sense. You like, I kind of want to know who. Like, the only person I don't want to know their life is my therapist. That's about it.
Yeah. How are you telling me how to fix my shit, baby? Your
Am I the
husband out
only
here
person?
cheating on you, and you telling me how to do better? What the hell?
Right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, but yeah, man. So that's cool, man. I like that you're authentic from the jump, man, and
Mhm.
that what makes us, man. That makes us. That's what's going to keep your business thriving and things like that. Because if that person don't want you to be that real with them, then they may not be the client that you want to work with.
No, and to that point, we that's kind of how we roll. Because I was like, I saw something, or maybe it was in a combo, like I said, with one of my business group buddies. But it was
Mm-hmm.
like, what are you willing to lose money off of? Like, you have to be willing as a business to be like, I don't want that client because X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to be like, this is who we are, this is how we are. If you don't want us, then that's fine. Like, so that's kind of how we look at it. Like, if we're with how we market ourselves and how we do things, if that turns off 40% of businesses, then that's fine. We'll focus on the other 60 or whatever.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is with veterans, because we try to aim at them as business owners, that's what they want. They want you to be
Mm-hmm.
authentic. They don't want the bullshit, like I say. So if it's like, oh, hey, look, this guy's being honest, I'm gonna go work with him.
Mm-hmm. I feel that, man. And speaking of,
Hmm.
all of that, um, trial and error. Did you have to learn that over time, or that was just something that from the beginning it was like? Because at the end of the day, like, I think when you're just starting off, you kind of want to take everybody on, but like you're still kind of in the beginning. But like, there's a time where it's like, all right, this doesn't serve me. Like, we're not gonna
Right.
we can't do it because I'm not the right. My company's not right for you. We're not gonna get anything done. So it's like, did you have to move into that, or it was just like from the jump, he's like, yeah, I don't think this is a good fit for you.
So I think it took us maybe about 6 months, and not so
Mm-hmm.
much you know, with the authentic. It was more of I would say the financial part, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
obviously in the beginning you want to help everyone, no matter the
Mm-hmm.
budget, blah blah blah. And then you gotta have to turn that off for a minute and we're like, okay, what actually makes us money?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this goes back to, like I said earlier, there's some companies I meet with them and it's like, oh well, you weren't in my budget. I'm like, cool. Here's like three things you can go do on your own without me and my company. Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
If you need help or things change, we'll circle back. So then that kind of more became okay, whose budget fits what we can provide,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll also want to work with us for how we act or how we talk and how we are. So that's, I would say it took us roughly about 6 months to get to that transition.
Okay, I feel that. I mean, that makes sense because I know I have a desire to be a business owner. I want to do a remote cleaning business where
Mm,
pretty much it's my business. I do all the marketing, but I contracted out the job. I don't want to be cleaning people
right,
houses and things like that. But one of my main things is, and I have a heart for the disabled and elderly community. And I feel
right,
like everybody should have a clean house. If you want a clean house and you can't really do it, everybody should. But it's like I want to grind. When I started, I want to grind out so much where like I can afford to give a discount to an elderly couple or a disabled person. But I got to put that work in the ground so I'm not losing money. But like I don't. I'm not in it yet, but it's like I'm trying to figure out how to do that. But that's one of my goals, where it's just like you said, like you have a heart and y'all do a lot for the military. That's where I want to do for my community.
I mean, it's really just the what is it that put good out, good comes
Mm-hmm.
back to you. So even if it's to start like kind of just for us, civilian companies, hey, this is the price. That's what you're going to pay. But
Mm-hmm.
that's cool because when I turn around and bring on a veteran company, their veterans or law enforcement, those types of people, their company gets a discount with us.
Okay.
So it balances out. So like for you, you can still offer that discount. Just know, hey, if you're not, above the age of 65, you pay the normal price.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're elderly, you do get the discount or however you want to structure it. So that's always possible. You just,
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. Do you have any in this world, this business world? Do you have any mentors that you have? Do you have any podcasts or that you is always because it's
no,
all this world that we live in, especially this digital media
yeah,
era.
yeah.
Like, there's always something to learn.
I mean, I've read books. I'm probably not that avid reader that I should be. I try listening to podcasts. I just like to listen to music 99% of the time if I put my
Mm-hmm.
headphones in. Um, but mentor wise, I mean, one of my partners is a really good mentor. He's, like he has more experience than all of us. I have been very fortunate and to have two really good friends that are really good with marketing and business. So I'm able to lean on them in terms of, hey, which route should I go, or how do I make this type of thing work. So I could say I've been very fortunate with the whole mentor thing
Man, I
in
like that.
business.
I like that a lot, man. I got a few more questions for you. I don't want
Yeah,
to take up too much of your time, but in the
I'm
world,
chilling, bro.
we got ChatGPT. Let's talk about this AI thing for a minute. Like, how does that help you or hurt you? Like, I think it's a good thing. But then again, I'm like, I don't know about this. So it's like, where's the middle at with that?
So it's a good thing and it's also a bad thing, right?
Hmm.
Because it's a bad thing because if you overuse it, there's a chance you just become too dependent on it
Hmm.
and you kind of start to lose your own voice in a sense. Where I like using it and where we as a company is it usually gives you a pretty good template, right? So
Hmm.
like you could feed it a document and it'll give you based on however you specify it, and then you just go through it and you rework it and make sure it flows and it's better. Um, so like I like to find that happy medium with it. I know we utilize a lot of AI and some other things that we do because it does help. But
Hmm.
again, it's not so much like, hey, click the button, we walk away. We click the button, but we monitor it. We make sure it's inputting what we trained it to do. It's looking up what you're telling it to look up. Because you don't want
Hmm.
to just running wild on itself. So when it comes to Chat GPT, yeah, I do encourage using it, but I also encourage using it. I don't want to say limited, but under supervision, right? Like if you ask it, hey, give me this XYZ for blah blah blah, and then you just copy it and you paste it and you're like done. No, dick, you're not. Like go through it, make sure it sounds
Hmm.
like you said it, make sure it
Hmm.
fits what you want it to say, because what people don't realize with your AI is you do have to train it. You do have to
Yeah.
teach it to properly, don't get me wrong, it can just straight out give you an answer of like who was this or like what did this. But if you're trying to
Hmm.
have it like work for you, you have to teach it so it
Yeah.
understands like what you want it to say.
And it was funny because I didn't know that, but I will always ask questions and ideas, and because I use it as a template for my podcast.
Right.
So like when I ask a question, anything like media related or anything that has to do with that could tie into like my podcast, is going to give me like then weight stuff. I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't need anything for my podcast right now. I just need. I have to tell it this is not for the podcast. This is not for this. Like is
Yeah.
for this to change its like message to me. But like because I asked so many questions and like ideas about how to do my podcast, like what to do or like topics or something like that. Even like when I have people come on, like, what can I ask this
Mhm.
person? So they're like, out of 10 questions, there may be like 3 or 4 questions that I like, and I'm like, okay, I like those questions. I'm gonna ask them in my own way, but like you said, it's always some good, but you gotta take the good with the bad. But I
Right.
fall victim to at the beginning. I did fall victim to the copy and paste kind of thing. It's just like nah, like
Everyone does. Don't feel bad. Everyone does.
so it's like nah, we got to do it like this, and it's a good tool, and I like to use it, but we can't fall victim to it doing all the work
Yeah.
and us being lazy with it.
No, yeah, and then especially now because everyone uses it or utilizes it, everyone can read when ChatGPT made something. Like they can all tell at this point. So it's like
Yeah.
you got to be able to go in there and reword or rework it because like you said, if you aren't telling it, like there's times I use it for stuff we do in the business, and if I don't specify, like, hey, don't factor this in, it
Hmm.
encompasses all of that. I'm like, I didn't want that in there, so I have to like go in there and be like, it's like, does this work? And I'm like, no, you stupid robot, do this, leave out this, and it's like, okay, and I'm like, um,
Right.
so yeah, I am not one of those. Don't use AI.
Hmm.
Although I'm a firm believer that Terminator is going to end up being real because of AI. But hey, whatever, fuck it. I guess.
Hey, we can't we can't stop the future. Whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen, right?
Man,
If we try to stop it, we trying to stop it may actually cause it to happen. So
exactly. And it's funny 'cause I just watched Terminator, and I was like, as I was like in Chat GPT, I was watching it. I like looked at my computer, and I was like, just helping the cause here, just helping the
right,
cause,
right,
speeding it up.
man. Hey, man, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. I think I got one more question for you.
No worries.
So we're talking to veterans, and I want to include everybody here because I want everybody in life to succeed. If people succeed more, we have a better world,
Right.
a better community. So, give me some advice to people that want to step into this digital marketing world. Um,
Hmm.
Maybe like an encouragement or anything that you can give.
Honestly, this isn't just for marketing. I would say this is for everything. Just
Okay.
fucking do it. Fail fast and then keep going. Because you may think I want to do marketing, I want to do this, and you just, go slow, see how it feels.
Hmm.
Think of it like sex. You don't go slow to see how it feels. You fucking shove that shit in there and you go for it and you're like, yeah, the same for me. I've never heard anybody say that, but whatever.
Yeah,
Right? Like fail fast because then you'll learn, all right, marketing ain't for me. What can I do next? Right. But take lessons from it. You may think I want to do sales, right? And then you do it and you're like, fuck this. Like, I'm gonna go back to being a janitor or whatever the case
hmm
is. Like, that's fine, right? But decide what it is you want to do. Just do it and fail fast because then you're gonna learn, how to be better after that. So that's really all I got, and that's in anything.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that a lot, man. Well, you have a good day.
You too.